I was on top of the world. At least that's how it felt. Emma and Jake were everything to me. I had always been the dependable one, the guy who never let anyone down. I'd given my heart to Emma the day I met her, and Jake. He was my best friend. We had been through everything together, from late-night talks about life to celebrating every small victory. They were my rock, my constant. Or at least, I thought they were. I had always prided myself on knowing the people around me. I thought I understood them better than anyone else. So when I walked into our shared apartment one day, expecting to surprise Emma with dinner, I didn't expect to see the two of them sitting on the couch laughing. But that wasn't the worst part. No, the worst part was what I saw next. Emma's phone buzzed with a notification, and before I even realized what I was doing, I glanced down at it. It was a picture of her and Jake, in a hotel room. Kissing. I froze. Everything inside me stopped. My heart pounded so loud I thought they could hear it, but no one said anything. They didn't even notice I was standing there. I felt like an outsider in my own life. Slowly, I backed out of the room, my hands shaking as I reached for my phone. I had to be wrong. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. But when I saw the message attached to the photo, my stomach twisted. Last night was amazing, baby. Can't wait to do it again soon? I miss you. I was numb. I couldn't even breathe. I didn't know how to react, what to say. The betrayal, sharp, painful, hit me like a punch to the gut. How long had this been going on? How could they do this to me? The woman I loved, and my best friend, my closest friend. I thought I knew them both better than anyone else, but it turns out I was wrong. I stood there in the hallway, my back against the wall, just staring at the screen. I didn't know how long I had been there. It felt like an eternity. Eventually, the door to the living room opened. Jake stepped out first. When he saw me standing there, his face immediately fell. He knew. He knew what I had seen. He didn't say a word. He just walked past me, avoiding eye contact. Emma followed behind him, her face a mixture of guilt and something else I couldn't place. She opened her mouth, but no words came out at first. "Emma," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Is this real?" She swallowed hard. I didn't want to hurt you." I let out a bitter laugh. "Hurt me? You've already done that?" The pain in my chest felt like it was suffocating me. I couldn't look at her anymore. I turned away, staring at the floor, hoping it would stop spinning. There was so much I wanted to say, but nothing felt right. I had so many questions, but in that moment, I knew I didn't need answers. The betrayal spoke for itself. Jake's voice broke through my thoughts. "Man, I don't want to hear it, Jake," I snapped, turning to face him for the first time. His eyes were wide, full of guilt and maybe regret, but I didn't care. "I trusted you." "I didn't mean for it to happen," he said quietly. It just did." "Don't you dare tell me this was an accident," I shouted, my voice raw with emotion. "You were my best friend, Jake. I thought you were better than this. I never meant to hurt you," he said. Stepping closer, but I took a step back. "Don't come near me." My voice cracked, but I didn't care. You both destroyed everything." And just like that, my world, the one I had built around trust, love, and friendship, came crashing down. Emma looked at me with pleading eyes, but I couldn't look at her anymore. She wasn't the woman I thought she was. She wasn't the woman I loved. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I didn't reply. Instead, I walked out of the apartment, my mind a whirlwind of disbelief, hurt, and betrayal. I couldn't understand what had just happened. But one thing was clear. Everything I thought I knew was a lie. They had taken everything from me. And now, all I had was the empty echo of their voices in my head. And as I stepped out into the cold night, something inside me started to shift. This wasn't the end. No, this was just the beginning. Asterisk. The days blurred together after they left. I couldn't even keep track of time anymore. Emma and Jake had just disappeared, leaving nothing but an empty apartment and a heart full of shattered pieces. I spent the first few days locked in the silence of that space, the echoes of their laughter haunting me. I tried to get back to work, but the numbness consumed me. Every time I looked at my phone, I half expected to see a message from Emma, some explanation, some apology, but nothing came. I couldn't concentrate. My mind raced in circles. One morning I found myself staring at a blank screen for an hour. I couldn't bring myself to respond to emails, couldn't focus on anything. The anger inside me started to build up again, but it was mixed with a deep sadness. How could I have been so stupid? How could I not see what was happening? The betrayal felt like a slow poison, and I couldn't escape it. My boss noticed. "Jason, you okay?" he asked, pulling me out of my thoughts. I forced a smile, but it didn't reach my eyes. "Yeah, just not feeling great. You've been off for a while now." "Are you sure you're all right? You haven't been this distracted since when?" I snapped, not meaning to. But I couldn't stop the frustration from spilling out. He raised an eyebrow, but didn't press further. "If you need time off, just let me know." I didn't even respond. I couldn't even remember the last time I had been fully present. It was like I was living in a fog, one I couldn't shake. The worst part? I still loved Emma. I kept thinking about how she used to smile, the way her eyes would light up when she saw me. But then I remembered the picture, the message. How could I still feel anything for her? She had betrayed me. She had betrayed as me and Jake. It didn't make sense, but that didn't stop the ache in my chest. A week later, I got the email that sealed my fate. "My boss let me go. We've noticed a decline in your performance." I hope you understand. I didn't understand. Nothing made sense anymore. The anger flared up again. The humiliation. I wasn't just losing my job, I was losing myself. The only thing I had left was my rage, and it burned brighter than anything else. That evening, I went to the bar, hoping to drown out the mess in my head. The noise, the drinks, the faces, I didn't want to be alone with my thoughts. But even as the alcohol hit my system, all I could think about was her. Emma? What did she see in Jake? What had I missed? My phone buzzed, pulling me out of my spiral. I looked down. It was a message from Jake. I almost laughed. Of course, he would try to reach out now. "Hey man, I know things have been rough. I'm really sorry for everything that happened. Can we talk?" Talk. I gripped my phone tight, almost crushing it. How dare he? After everything, he thought he could apologize? After betraying me, after taking her away, he thought a simple message could fix it? I was done. I didn't reply. Instead, I turned my phone off and tossed it on the table. I couldn't keep doing this. I couldn't keep letting them control my thoughts, my life. I needed to change. I needed to stop drowning in this mess. I had to survive this somehow. If I kept wallowing in self-pity, I was going to destroy myself. I didn't know what to do next, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let them win. The pain wasn't going to go away. But I had to find a way to move past it. I couldn't keep letting Emma and Jake haunt me. I needed to do something, anything to take back control. I stood up. My decision made. Tomorrow, I would start again. I didn't know what that meant yet, but I knew that it was time for me to stop being a victim. The anger still simmered beneath the surface, but it wasn't just anger anymore. It was the spark I needed to ignite something new. And I wasn't going to stop until I made them regret what they did. I woke up that morning with a heaviness in my chest, but something was different. It wasn't the usual crushing weight of betrayal. No, it felt like the beginning of something. I could either keep spiraling down into the abyss, wallowing in the mess Emma and Jake had left behind, or I could do something about it. I wasn't going to let them win. Not like this. I stared at the ceiling for a while, my thoughts spinning. The apartment was silent, but my mind was anything but. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Emma's face, her smile. Jake's easy confidence. I hated that they still had that power over me. It wasn't right, but I was done. Done feeling sorry for myself, done being the victim. It was time to take control. I rolled out of bed and grabbed my laptop, the one thing that still felt like it mattered to me. I opened the screen and pulled up the folder I'd been working on for months. My startup idea. It had started as a dream, something I wanted to do for myself, something I believed in. But after everything that happened, it had become more than just a business plan. It was my escape, my revenge, my shot at proving I could rise above the mess they'd left me in. I started typing, my fingers moving faster than I could think. Every word, every sentence felt like a step forward. I wasn't just building a business. I was building myself back up, piece by piece. An hour later, my phone buzzed. I ignored it. I didn't care who it was. But then I saw the name. It was Emma. I know I don't have the right to ask, but can we talk? I never wanted to hurt you, I read the message, my anger flaring up instantly. It was always the same. The excuses. The apologies. And yet she hadn't changed. Nothing had changed. I couldn't afford to get sucked back into that world again. Not now. Not after everything I had worked for in the past few days. I set my phone down and focused back on the screen. My startup, it had to work. No more distractions. No more letting the past control me. I was done being that guy. The one who let his emotions rule his every move. The plan started to come together. I could do this. I had the skills, the drive, and most importantly, the determination. I wasn't just doing this for me. I was doing this for the version of myself that I had lost. The version of me who believed in something bigger than the betrayal I had suffered as I drafted the business strategy. I thought about what I was going to prove to Emma, to Jake, to everyone who doubted me. But more than that, I was proving it to myself. I was more than just a guy who had been betrayed. I was someone who could rise from the ashes, build something meaningful, and move on from the past. The next few days were a blur of meetings, research, and late nights. I was putting everything I had into this. There was no room for weakness, no space for doubt. Every email I sent, every pitch I made, was a small victory. Each step forward was a reminder that I wasn't defined by Emma or Jake. I wasn't defined by what had happened. I was defined by what I was about to create. One night, as I sat at my desk, the weight of the past felt lighter. I didn't have all the answers, but I had a clear path. I was going to make this work, no matter how long it took, no matter how hard it got, and for the first time since the betrayal, I felt something else. It wasn't anger or pain. It was hope. The hope that this new path would lead to something better, a future where I was in control. A future where I wasn't chained to the past. I closed my laptop that night with a sense of accomplishment. But it wasn't over yet. This was just the beginning. I wasn't just going to survive. The first few months were rough. Every day felt like I was dragging myself through mud, but I refused to stop. I refused to give in. I had a vision, a goal. And no one, especially not Emma and Jake, was going to take that from me. I spent countless hours building my business. Late nights, endless coffee, and trying to figure out how to make things work. The challenges kept coming, one after another, but each time I pushed through. I had no choice. If I wanted to survive this, if I wanted to prove them wrong, I had to give everything I had. One day, as I was running a meeting with a new potential investor, I could see it. I could see the spark of recognition in their eyes. It wasn't much, but it was enough. They were impressed. They saw the value in what I was building. For the first time in a while, I felt like I wasn't just spinning my wheels. After the meeting, I stood in the elevator, replaying every word. This could actually work, I whispered to myself. The thought hit me like a jolt of electricity. This wasn't just a business anymore. This was my ticket to showing the world, and especially Emma and Jake, that I was capable of more than they ever gave me credit for. They had thought I was weak, that I wouldn't make it without them. But now I was going to prove them wrong. I threw myself into networking. I attended every conference, every event. I forced myself to talk to people, even though every fiber of my being wanted to retreat into the shadows. But I did it. I shook hands. I pitched my ideas, and slowly, the pieces started falling into place. A few weeks in, I got a call from a mentor I had met at one of the events. "Jason, I've been watching your progress. You're on the right track." but you're going to need a team. A good one. Felt my stomach tighten. I can't afford a team right now. You don't need to have the money to make it work, he said, his voice calm but firm. You need the right people. A good team will make all the difference. That was the moment it clicked. I couldn't do this alone. I needed help. So, I reached out to a few people I had met along the way, offering them a chance to join something bigger. Some said yes, others turned me down, but those who did join became my foundation. Together, we worked tirelessly, and slowly, the business grew. I was amazed at how quickly things started to take off. In just a few months, I had the beginnings of a real company. More investors showed interest. More people were talking about the work we were doing. It was happening. I was doing it, but every success, every step forward, came with a bitter taste. Emma and Jake never reached out again, not after I cut them off. But I saw the way people were starting to notice me now, and it fueled me. I wasn't just building a company, I was building a reputation. I was showing the world that I wasn't some guy to be pitied. I was stronger than they had ever realized. One evening, as I sat at my desk, I received a message. It was from an unknown number. I hesitated for a moment before opening it. Jason, I know I don't have the right to ask, but I need to know, are you okay? It was from Emma. I stared at the screen for what felt like an eternity. I had half a mind to throw my phone across the room, but instead, I stared at the words, my anger bubbling up again. Am I okay? I muttered to myself. Yeah, I'm more than okay. I'm better than I've ever been. But instead of replying, I deleted the message. I wasn't the same person who would have responded with hope or regret. I was stronger now. I didn't need her anymore. I didn't need anyone who had left me behind. I picked up my phone and called my mentor. I've got this, I said, feeling a strange sense of pride in my voice. You sure about that? He asked, a hint of amusement in his tone. I'm sure, I said, my voice steady. This is just the beginning. And it was. I was just getting started. With every day that passed, I grew more confident, more sure of my path. I wasn't just building a business. I was building my life again. It wasn't just about success. It wasn't just about proving something to Emma or Jake. It was about me. I had taken the pain they caused me and turned it into fuel. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was thriving, and no one, especially not them, could ever take that away from me. It had been months since Emma and Jake vanished from my life, and I thought I was done with them. I thought I had buried all the anger, all the hurt, and moved on. But then, one morning, I woke up to a message from her. Jason, I know it's been a while, but I need to talk to you. Can we meet? I stared at the screen, my blood starting to boil. How dare she? After everything she did, after everything they did, now she wanted to come back into my life? My mind raced with 1,000 thoughts, each angrier than the last. She had shattered me, left me to pick up the pieces, and now she wanted to talk. I should have deleted the message, blocked her number, never looked back. But I didn't. Instead, I found myself typing a response, my hands trembling slightly. Fine. Where? Her reply was quick. Can we meet at the old cafe? The one we used to go to. I took a deep breath, the old memories flooding back. That cafe? Our cafe. I could almost hear her laugh, see her smile, the way Jake would joke around while I just listened, content. But none of that mattered anymore. It was all a lie. They were both a lie. I made my way to the cafe that afternoon, my stomach twisted into knots. It felt like stepping into a ghost of my old life. I pushed the door open and scanned the room. She was sitting in the corner, her back to me, just like she always did when we were here. I walked over, my steps deliberate, every inch of me screaming not to go through with this. But I had to. For closure, for my peace. Emma, I said. My voice colder than I expected. She turned, her eyes locking with mine. A mix of guilt and something else, maybe regret, maybe hope. But I didn't care about her emotions anymore. Not after what she had done. Jason, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I I didn't know how to start this. I didn't know how to make up for what we did to you. I bit my lip, trying to control the anger that surged through me. You don't get to apologize, Emma. Not now. Not after everything. I clenched my fists under the table, feeling the burn of old pain resurface. I know, she said quickly. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I wanted to explain. I never meant for things to turn out the way they did. Like I couldn't help it. A bitter laugh escaped me. You think you can explain away what happened? You and Jake. You think I'm just supposed to forget? To move on? She winced, but I could see her holding back tears. It was almost too much. I hated the way her presence still affected me. Part of me wanted to reach out, to let her explain, to feel the old connection we once shared. But I knew better now. No, she said quietly. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I regret what I did, that I miss you, that I cut her off, my voice firm. You regret it? Well, that's nice. But that doesn't change anything. You're late, Emma. You should have thought about all of this before you left. Before you ran off with him, her face faltered. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was confused, and I hurt you. I'm so sorry, Jason. I leaned forward, the words spilling out before I could stop them. Do you think saying sorry makes everything better? It doesn't. It doesn't take away the years I wasted believing in you, believing in us. In our future, tears welled in her eyes now, and I could see the pain on her face. But it didn't matter. It didn't change what happened. I loved you, she said quietly. I still do. I could feel the walls I had carefully built around myself start to crack. Part of me wanted to believe her. I wanted to fall back into the comfort of the past, to pretend that everything was okay. But I couldn't. Not anymore. I loved you too, I said, my voice rough. But you broke me. And now I'm stronger than I was before. I don't need you anymore, Emma. I'm done. She looked at me, her eyes searching mine, but I didn't flinch. This wasn't about her anymore. This was about me. I stood up, my hands trembling as I grabbed my coat. I don't need your regrets. I've moved on, and I'm better off without you, without waiting for a response. I turned and walked out of that cafe, the weight of the past lifting off my shoulders. Emma might have been a part of my story, but she wasn't the ending. I was finally starting to write my own. I sat across from Emma, my hands folded on the table, trying to keep my calm. She was fidgeting, looking like she didn't know how to begin. The air between us was thick, and my mind was already racing with 1,000 questions. I had agreed to meet her, and now I regretted it. I didn't think I'd ever be sitting here again, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I said nothing. I wasn't here to comfort her. I was here for answers. She took a deep breath, her eyes flicking nervously around the cafe before landing back on me. I owe you the truth, Jason, the whole truth. I nodded, my jaw tight. You owe me that and more. Emma looked down, her fingers twisting the napkin in her hands. Jake and we were together, behind your back. For months. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. It wasn't a surprise, but hearing it out loud, hearing it from her, made it real. I fought to keep my composure, but I could feel the heat of anger bubbling up. I was blind, she continued. We never meant for you to find out. I never wanted to hurt you. We were in love, Jason. It just happened. In love, the words hung in the air, thick and heavy. My hands balled into fists under the table, but I didn't say anything. I had heard enough. You think that's an excuse? I finally said, my voice low. You were in love, so it's okay to lie to me? To betray me? My chest tightened, but I refused to break down in front of her. I had done that enough already. Emma's face flushed with guilt. I never meant to hurt you. You already did? I cut her off. Don't act like your apology is going to fix this. It's too late for that. She looked down at her hands, her lips trembling. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I never wanted to hurt you, Jason. I didn't know what else to do. I was confused. Confused? I repeated, my voice rising. You weren't confused? You made a choice, over and over again. You and Jake both. I'm sorry, she whispered, barely audible. I was selfish. I was weak. But I'm not the same person I was then. I leaned forward, the words tumbling out of me before I could stop them. No, Emma, you were exactly who I thought you were. Someone who didn't care about me. Someone who thought she could have everything, no matter who she hurt. You wanted Jake, and you took him. You didn't even think about me. Tears welled in her eyes, but I wasn't moved. I couldn't be. Not anymore. I was wrong, Jason, she said, her voice breaking. I know I can never make it right. I just wanted to tell you the truth. I don't expect you to forgive me. I needed you to know. I sat back, my heart pounding in my chest. I already know. You don't need to tell me. You've already shown me who you really are. Emma wiped her eyes, but I didn't feel a hint of sympathy. I had cried for her enough times already. I had forgiven her before, but not this time. Not anymore. The silence stretched between us. It was suffocating. But as I sat there, something started to click in my mind. This wasn't about fixing anything. It wasn't about trying to repair what was broken. The pieces were shattered beyond repair. I had spent so much time thinking about what I had lost, about the betrayal, about Emma and Jake. But now, as I looked at Aurelie, saw the truth for what it was. It wasn't her fault anymore. I was the one who had to decide how this story ended. I get it now, I said, my voice steady. This isn't about us. It's about me and what I need. What I've needed all along. Emma looked up confused. What do you mean? I mean that I've spent too long letting you and Jake control my life, I said, my voice rising, but no longer with anger. It was clarity now. I've spent too long letting your betrayal define me, but I'm done with that. I'm done with you. Her eyes widened as I stood up, the finality of my words hitting her. You've made your choices. I've made mine, and now I'm going to live my life. Without you. Without Jake? She didn't say anything, just looked at me as I walked away. But I didn't need her to say anything. I didn't need her to fix this. I had already started moving on. I had already started healing. I was no longer that person who needed their approval or their validation. I was someone new now, stronger, and that was all that mattered. As I stepped out of the cafe and into the cold air, I could feel the weight lifting from my shoulders. I wasn't carrying the past anymore. I was walking toward my future, and it was mine to shape, not theirs. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my tie, my reflection staring back at me, someone I barely recognized. The person looking at me was confident, poised, someone who had worked tirelessly to get where he was, and I couldn't help but feel a small sense of pride. It wasn't about the money or the accolades or even the growing success of the business. It was about proving to myself and to everyone who doubted me that I was more than they ever thought I could be. When Emma reached out, it had all come flooding back, the anger, the betrayal. But now, as I sat in meetings, leading teams, and expanding my business, I realized something. I didn't need her. I didn't need Jake, and I sure as hell didn't need their approval. I was done looking back. The phone buzzed on my desk. It was a message from my mentor, Greg. I saw your recent press release. You're making waves. How does it feel to finally be the one they're talking about? I leaned back in my chair, a small smirk on my face. Feels damn good, I muttered to myself. I had worked my ass off, and now people were starting to take notice. Investors, clients, even some of the top players in the industry were reaching out. My startup wasn't just a success. It was the success. And as it grew, I grew with it. No more looking over my shoulder at the past. No more wishing things were different. I got another message, this time from an unknown number. Jason, I saw what you've done. I'm sorry for everything. I never meant for things to turn out this way. I didn't need to look at the name to know who it was. Emma. My fingers hovered over the screen, but I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Instead, I opened the file for the new project I was spearheading. We were about to launch a product that would change the industry. It was bold, it was risky, and it was everything I had wanted to do from the start. And as I dove deeper into the work, I felt it, a sense of power, of control. I was writing my own story now. A few weeks later, I was sitting in a conference room with investors, explaining the next big move. The presentation went smoothly, the pitch perfect. I could tell they were impressed. And when the final offer came through, an offer that would solidify my company's place as a leader in the market, I smiled. Not because of the money, but because I had done it. On the way home, I got a call from Greg. "Jason, I've got to hand it to you. This is massive. They're calling you the one to watch now. You've made it." I laughed, feeling the weight of the past lift a little more. "Thanks, Greg, but this isn't just about making it. It's about proving something. I wasn't just proving something to the world. I was proving something to myself. I wasn't the broken man I had been before. I wasn't the guy who let betrayal tear him apart. I was someone who had turned that pain into power." The next day, I ran into Jake at an event. He wasn't expecting to see me, and his face said it all. He looked uncomfortable, shifting on his feet as I walked up to him. "Jake," I said, my voice calm, controlled. "How's it going?" He forced a smile. "Good, really good. I've been following your success. It's impressive." I nodded. "I'm glad you think so. But I'm not doing this for you, or for Emma." The words hung in the air between us. Jake's face faltered, and for a split second, I saw a flash of regret in his eyes. But I wasn't interested in his regrets. I wasn't here to hear him apologize. He had made his choice, and I had made mine. "You should have thought about that before," I said, turning away. "But don't worry. I'm doing just fine without you." As I walked away, I felt the weight of their betrayal, but it didn't crush me anymore. No, it fueled me. Emma and Jake were starting to feel the weight of their actions. They were beginning to see what they had lost, and while they regretted walking away, I wasn't the one who was hurting anymore. I had one. Not through petty revenge, not through anything they could ever understand, but through my success, the kind that couldn't be taken away, the kind that made them regret ever underestimating me. And as I moved forward, I knew one thing for sure: I was better off without them. I didn't need their apology. I didn't need their validation. I had everything I needed now, and that was more than enough. Asterisk. It had been months since I last heard from Emma and Jake. The silence between us had been blissful, but that all changed when they tried to reach out again. I didn't expect it, but I should have known. They always came back when things were going well for me. One evening I got a text from Emma. "Can we talk, please? I need to explain." I didn't bother responding right away. I knew what she was going to say. Was going to apologize, beg for my forgiveness, and tell me how sorry she was for everything. But it didn't matter anymore. I was done with her. I was done with Jake. They had lost their chance. But the next day, I got a call from Jake. My phone rang while I was in the middle of a meeting, but I didn't care. I stepped outside to answer it. "Jason, hey man, we need to talk." "About what, Jake?" I said, leaning against the wall. "What's left to talk about? Look, I know things ended badly between us, but we've both moved on, right? I mean, I've been watching your progress. You're doing great. And, well, I just think we should clear the air." I felt a surge of bitterness rise in me. "Clear the air? You've got some nerve, you know that?" "I know, man. I've been an idiot. We both have. Don't want to make it right." "Make it right?" I scoffed, shaking my head. "It's too late for that, Jake. You don't get to just waltz back into my life and act like everything's fine. You made your choice. You and Emma both did." "I'm sorry, Jason," he said, his voice thick with regret. "I've been feeling it too, man. Seeing you succeed. Honestly, I didn't think you'd make it this far. I didn't think you could do it without us." I gritted my teeth. "That's where you were wrong. I didn't need either of you. And now, you want to come back, after everything? The way you both treated me?" There was a long pause on the other end. "I understand if you don't want to forgive me. I miss our friendship, man." I let out a deep breath. "You had your chance. I don't need anyone who doesn't believe in me." I hung up before he could say another word. It wasn't about forgiveness anymore. It wasn't about fixing things. It was about me moving on. I had already done that. They were the ones stuck in the past, still reeling from their choices. A few hours later, Emma tried to call. I ignored it. Didn't need her to apologize anymore. I didn't need anyone from my past trying to crawl back in. As the weeks went by, I couldn't help but notice the change. People were starting to treat me differently. There were more opportunities, more doors opening, my business was thriving, and with each new success, I felt the sting of their betrayal fade more and more. I had become the person I was always meant to be, a person who didn't rely on others to feel validated. One afternoon, I walked into a networking event. My new business venture, the talk of the town. As I mingled with the crowd, I saw them. Emma and Jake. They were standing off to the side, talking to a group of people. Their eyes met mine, and I could see the regret written all over their faces. But I didn't care. I'd moved past them. Emma gave me a tentative wave, but I didn't wave back. I didn't need to. I'd already won. I walked past them, ignoring the silent tension hanging between us. The feeling of their eyes on my back was almost satisfying. They had betrayed me, but it wasn't them who had the last word anymore. I did. I was the one who had risen from the ashes. I was the one who had turned pain into success. And as I moved through the event, shaking hands, making deals, I realized something. The best revenge wasn't in hurting them back. It was in thriving without them. In proving to myself that I didn't need anyone but myself to succeed. I didn't have to look back anymore. I had healed. My heart was scarred, but those scars were a reminder of how far I had come. I had found peace, not in vengeance, but in the life I had built. It felt damn good. As I walked out of that event, I felt lighter than I had in months. I had let go of the past, and in doing so I had found something far more satisfying than any revenge. Freedom. And for the first time in a long while, I felt complete. I stood at the entrance of the cafe, looking at Emma and Jake across the room. They had been waiting for me, hoping for some sort of closure. But I knew better now. They weren't entitled to any of it. I had spent too long giving them space in my life, and now I was done. Emma saw me first. Her eyes lit up with that familiar hope, but I didn't feel the same pull I once did. I wasn't that person anymore, Jason, she said, standing up. We need to talk. I didn't move. No, Emma, we don't. Jake stood beside her, his expression guarded. I could see the regret in both of their faces, but it didn't touch me anymore. Come on, man, Jake said, his voice softer than usual. Just hear us out. I've heard enough. For years, I've listened to your excuses, your apologies. And it didn't change anything. You both had your chance. Jason, please, Emma said, stepping forward. I never wanted to hurt you. Stop, I interrupted. I don't need your apologies. You both made your choice. And now, I'm making mine. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of all the pain I'd carried for so long finally lift off my chest. I'm done. Emma's face crumpled, but I didn't feel pity. I had no more energy to waste on this. The betrayal was over. The lies were in the past. I know you've moved on, Jake said, his voice filled with sorrow. But you've changed, man. I never thought you'd be this different. I felt something stir inside me, but it wasn't anger. It was clarity. Yeah, I've changed, I said, my voice steady. I had to. I'm not the same person I was when you both left me in the dust. I've built something. I've built myself back up. And I don't need either of you to do that. Emma's eyes were welling up now, and I could tell she wanted to say something more. But I wasn't interested in hearing it. I don't want to keep reliving this. The past is behind me. You two are behind me. I could feel the finality in my words. This wasn't just closure, it was freedom. I wasn't bitter, and I wasn't angry anymore. I had healed. I had learned to stand on my own, and that was something they could never take away from me. I'm glad you're sorry, I said, turning away. But that doesn't change anything. I've got my life, and I'm living it for myself now. And that's the only thing that matters. As I walked out of the cafe, I felt lighter than I had in months. The anger, the sadness, they were all gone, replaced with something new. Something stronger. I had one, but not in the way I thought I would. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about proving them wrong. It was about finding peace within myself and knowing that I could rise above all of it. I didn't need them. I never did. I looked ahead, the future wide open before me. For the first time, I didn't feel haunted by the past. I was free, and that felt better than anything I could have ever imagined. My journey wasn't over. I knew one thing for sure. Whatever came next, I was ready, asterisk.